On the buzz meter this Sunday, the campaign gloves come off. Donald Trump and his rivals are throwing punches, and the media can't get enough.
We begin tonight with breaking news and words like these. Quote, look at that face. Would anyone vote for that?
The critics are pouncing on the Donald for this off-the-cuff slam against Carly.
He was quoted by the Rolling Stone reporter saying, look at that face. Would anyone vote for that?
And I'm not going to spend a single cycle wondering what Donald Trump means.
You don't believe his faith is sincere.
I haven't heard it. I haven't seen it.
But I don't know Ben Carson. He was a doctor, perhaps an okay doctor, by the way.
But is the press spending too much time on personal attacks? We'll ask Ben Carson, the surgeon-turned-presidential candidate who surged to second place, about that and the way he's being covered. And Laura Ingraham on why many conservative commentators are calling Trump a counterfeit Republican. After months of avoiding the press and dismissing the email mess, Hillary Clinton finally apologizes.
I should have used two accounts, one for personal, one for work-related emails. That was a mistake. I'm sorry about that. I take responsibility.
But as her aides promise a warmer and funnier Hillary, did she go far enough in her ABC sit-down? Plus, Stephen Colbert makes his CBS debut with Jeb Bush, a highly emotional Joe Biden, and lots of political humor. Will the new Late Show host be a political force without the fake anchor shtick? I'm Howard Kurtz, and this is Media Buzz. It keeps on happening. Donald Trump delivers an attack. The pundits say he's gone too far, and until now, at least, he goes up in the polls. This time, the target was Carly Fiorina, as Trump saw her face on a TV screen and said this in front of a Rolling Stone reporter.
He was quoted by the Rolling Stone reporter saying, look at that face. Would anyone vote for that? Can you imagine that, the face of our next president? I mean, she's a woman, and I'm not supposed to say bad things, but really, folks, come on. Are we serious? Your reaction?
Honestly, Megyn, I'm not going to spend a single cycle wondering what Donald Trump means. But maybe, just maybe, I'm getting under his skin a little bit because I am climbing in the polls.
First it was Rosie, then it was Megyn. Now you got Carly Fiorina. They got you in Rolling Stone magazine making fun of the way she looks. Why do you talk about how women look so much? You know it's not presidential. It's probably not even kind.
I'm talking about persona. Look, here's another one.
You said look at that face.
Carson and Carly.
You said look at that face.
The fact is that Carly Fiorina has had a terrible past. She was fired viciously from Hewlett-Packard.
Joining us now to analyze the coverage, Sharyl Attkisson, the former CBS correspondent, who's launching a Sunday show called Full Measure on Sinclair television stations. Steve Hayes, senior writer at the Weekly Standard and a Fox News contributor, and Dana Milbank, columnist for the Washington Post. Sharyl, are the media justified in making such a huge story about Trump's comments about Carly Fiorina's face?
Well, people are interested for sure, but I would point out that when Trump is insulted quite horribly, nobody feels sorry for him, and it's not the top of the whole segment asking how he feels about it. I think Carly Fiorina probably reacted the right way and did the right thing. But Trump supporters in the bigger sense don't care. They think that his penchant for insulting people is outweighed by the skill set they believe he has to do important things.
So there's not the usual, oh, why won't he apologize drumbeat that the media often play?
Well, they know that if they do the drumbeat, he's just not going to play that game.
Are the media buying Trump's explanation, Steve, that he was talking about her persona, not her looks?
Well, no, I would say as a general proposition, because it's preposterous. Of course he wasn't talking about her persona. He was talking about her looks very clearly. If you read the excerpt from the Rolling Stone article, I think you saw Chris Cuomo push him a little bit on that. Say, really, you said this was about her face. He's not being asked to apologize in the way that I think other candidates would, and it's not disqualifying in the way that it might be for other candidates for exactly the reasons that Sharyl suggests. I mean, he's done this so many times before, crossing lines that I think most people think shouldn't be crossed, and it helps him.
Trump may not have planned this attack on Carly Fiorina, but he did make these comments in front of a reporter. But again, you have the chorus of pundits, Dana Milbank, saying this time he's gone too far, and yet this kind of media criticism basically seems to help him.
I do think something is changing now, though, and I think you're seeing it in the beginning of seeing the media coverage, which is reflective of how the other candidates are treating Donald Trump right now. You see Jindal, you see Carson, you see Fiorina finally saying unacceptable, and it is unacceptable. It has nothing to do with ideology or politics. You can't talk about women that way, about immigrants that way in America.
Trump says he's doing some of this as an entertainer.
He is doing as an entertainer, and we're greatly entertained in the media, and he has been very good for our business, although I don't think we should all be giving our money to him for raising our ad rates.
We'll come back to that. All right, Cheryl, so Ben Carson at a Q&A in California criticizing, or questioning, I should say, Donald Trump's faith, and then Trump, we saw a little bit of him come back. Well, he was an okay doctor, and the guy was a world-class neurosurgeon. For the media, big story, medium story, non-story.
I think, again, anything that Trump says about them or things that they say about him seems to be an interesting story to the public and to the media. But I still say for that core group of Trump supporters, they don't care. Even if they don't like the insults, that is secondary to the big things that they're desperate to get done that they feel, for whatever reason, only Trump can do.
Well, the core group of Trump supporters, frankly, often doesn't care about, very basic things like facts and reason and logic. But Ben Carson was asked.
So are you saying that Trump being at 32% in the latest poll is a function of a chunk of the country that is so enamored of him that they don't really care about the substance of what he's saying?
Yes, sometimes I think that's true. I think for a large number of Trump supporters, they just don't care. And it's not less that they're so enamored of Donald Trump as they're so angry about the establishment, Republican establishment, Washington establishment, media establishment here. And they don't care about anything else. Their argument is, look at what the establishment has delivered. Our politics is a mess. The Republican Party is meek and cowardly, and Donald Trump is challenging them. And even when he breaks these traditional conventions, he does it well. That's the way that they see it.
Here's what Donald Trump gets right. He may be a bigot, he may be a misogynist, but he gets the media culture and that we thrive on conflict. Above everything, above party, above ideology. And he is one big ball of conflict, insulting everybody, getting into fights with everybody all the time. So, of course, we cover the Carson Trump fight or the Fiorina Trump fight. It's like a heavyweight fight. We are drawn to that sort of a back and forth. It's irresistible.
These are ultimately food fights, but they also, I think there must be some voters out there who say, what does this have to do with whether I can keep my job, whether my wife is working 2 part-time jobs and all of that? It's not that the candidates never talk about that, but it doesn't get anywhere near the oxygen that we are talking about.
Hearing this fight goes on, I'm telling you, there's a core group of people that watches that and thinks the media is treating him unfairly, playing the substitution game. I know people on this panel probably don't agree, but when Trump it's said about him that he didn't read the Bible because he's not in it, that's a pretty big insult, but nobody went to Jindal and said, are you going to apologize for that? Because they feel Trump deserves it. But, they don't necessarily feel the other candidates deserve it when they get hit by insults.
And Steve, you're right when you talk about anger at not just the Washington political culture, but the media culture, which is one of the reasons I think, even when you or others criticize him, people say, oh, it's the media elite. What have they done for us lately? Let me play a soundbite, talk about Trump picking fights. He sent a letter this week to CNN President Jeff Zucker, of course, CNN hosting the second presidential debate this coming Wednesday. It kind of echoed what Trump had said in some earlier comments. Let's take a look at that now.
I should go to CNN. They're doing the next debate. And I should say to Jeff Zucker, a great guy, Jeff, I'm going to do the debate, but I want $10 million for charity. American Cancer Society, AIDS research. We'll pick 10 great. $1 million. Otherwise, I'm not going to the debate. And honestly, I think they'd pay me.
No comment from CNN, which is being asked to cough up all the profits because Trump says the ad rates have gone up 4,000% or something like that because of his participation.
Well, intentionally or not, one could say it is a wry reminder to the public that the media, which most of us like to think of as a neutral observer, is not always really that they profit from the theater and they profit from the political campaign.
I love the whole notion here, though, that he should be paid for generating headlines and readership, so we should pay terrorists if there's a terrorist attack, or the airline when they send an airplane down into the ocean. I mean, it would be an excellent precedent to establish.
In fairness, he's saying give me the money, but that it would go to veterans groups of his choosing. Fox News asked him at the D.C. rally here the other day where he spoke about the Iran deal, against the Iran deal, will you really not show up if CNN doesn't pay the money? And he said, I haven't yet to make that determination nomination. And he said in the letter, I refuse to brag, but I'm responsible for...
Look, this is actually, I mean, look, I think it was a gimmick. He's gotten more press about it. We're talking about
Driving
it.
another news
But
cycle.
it's an interesting question for him, because on the one hand, Donald Trump is an egomaniac who thrives on nothing but attention. And skipping the debate would deprive him of some of that attention. He wouldn't be on the stage for all that. But of course, it would gain him more attention, because that's all everybody would be talking about at the debate that night. If he didn't show up, people would be saying the front runner for the Republicans has decided not to come. So he wins either way. He just gets more attention.
When you call him an egomaniac, I detect in that a kind of a dismissive, oh, he's not a serious candidate, eventually he'll flame out. Is that fair?
Yeah, he's not a serious candidate. I'm not saying he'll flame out. Look, I'm done predicting about Donald Trump. I mean, I thought he was going to flame out.
You should all be done predicting.
But let me say this. He's not proven himself a serious candidate. Even if you look at the substance of the answers he provides on the issues he knows the best, the economy and jobs, go and look at the answers he's provided. He says nothing of substance. Nothing.
I disagree slightly with Steve. I think that he is being taken more seriously now because his opponents are taking him seriously. It's not just like this is a little clown on the side and we're going to ignore him because he'll go away. I think he's starting to get that kind of scrutiny.
And I think largely he's starting to be more restrained both in his speeches and interviews because he sees that he has a shot to win this nomination. All right, one more thing I want to get into this segment, and that is the extraordinary emotional interview that Joe Biden had with Stephen Colbert on his new CBS Late Show. This is just a little piece of it.
And two, they can look at the folks out there and say, I promise you, you have my whole heart, my whole soul, my energy, and my passion to do this. And I'd be lying if I said that I knew I was there.
As Biden grieves for his late son, even conservatives are saying, wow, this guy is very authentic and wears his emotions on his sleeve.
I think he's always been authentic. I mean, this is, both a positive for Joe Biden and a negative for Joe Biden, is that he says what he thinks. In that way, I mean, other people have drawn comparisons to Donald Trump. He's sort of Donald Trump maybe with more ideas or with a stronger ideology. He hasn't flipped as much as Trump has.
Even though Biden is telling the world he's not there emotionally, the next day Politico has a story. Joe Biden insiders see a campaign taking shape. Well, maybe, but you need a candidate then.
Politico had two stories within 45 minutes of each other. One say he was about to run and the other said there's no way possible. But I've always been inclined to take Joe Biden at his word because he's authentic and he's not saying he's getting ready to run.
Just briefly.
Well, I think he's going to run. Could be completely wrong. And I think one of the biggest things he has going for him is that authenticity, as you described it, and that likability. Top Democrats spoke to me this week and said, what else does he have except 4 more years of Obama, who the Democrats said has been extremely unpopular? Well, that's what he has. He has that persona.
Venturing a prediction. Before we go to break, take a minute to talk about your new show, Full Measure, which will debut on Sinclair stations on October 4th.
That's right. Half hour of investigative reporting. We're not trying to duplicate the other Sunday shows. We'll be doing whistleblower stories, government accountability, watchdog reporting, corporate malfeasance, all the things that I think the public wants to see more of.
Was this what you were trying to do at CBS?
Yes, exactly. And what I did for many years, but what I had more trouble getting on the air the last couple of years.
All right. Let me get a break here. Remember to send me a Twitter message. Get on the Twitter and tweet me at Howard Kurtz. What do you think about what we're talking about, or the show, or the media? When we come back, Hillary Clinton finally manages to say she's sorry with ABC's David Muir. Is that enough for the media? And later, we'll talk to Ben Carson about his surge in the polls and his apology for questioning Trump's faith.